Permaculture design step by step. So it's a little bit of a review, what we did, just to review that, and then we're going to move on. Visit the site for your first impressions, take notes and photos. Afterwards, consider the ethics and principles of permaculture. So while you're reviewing the site, are you reviewing the principles? Check out permacultureprinciples.com, possibly write down your principles or print out the list that's there so that you can be looking at those while you're making those decisions. Keep them in mind as you begin to form ideas about the site. So the ideas about the site should be in relationship to the permaculture design principles and ethics. Create your goal statement. Write a fully implemented, what will the fully implemented design provide? So that when the design is fully done at, say, 5 to 10 years, it will provide my goals. So in the first year, all my goals may not be met. It may take 5 years, even 10 years to meet the full goals. So when we do our goals, we state our goals in the present tense. We say they're already done, but actually it may take time. The full implementation meets the goals. Do a functional analysis of the design elements that you want. So what do you want in your design? What is the analysis of those elements to make sure that they meet your goals? For every design element, consider its products, behaviors, needs, and its intrinsic characteristics. Ask pertinent questions about design elements. For example, what kind of soil does a particular plant like? So if I want to grow tomatoes, the pH of a tomato plant would be different than, say, the pH of an eggplant, right? So do I understand what that particular element likes so I can provide for it? What are some companion plants? So if I want to grow a tomato, what might be a great companion for a tomato, right? What if I said I need a trellis for my tomato plant, but I could grow the tomato plant next to the moringa tree? The moringa is a legume, and it has very dapple, very light leaves, so it doesn't take a lot of sunlight. And it could provide the trellis support for my tomato. I can tie the tomato up to the moringa tree. These would be things that I could look for relationships. How much sunlight does it need? Do tomatoes like full sunlight? Possibly in England, but not here in the tropics. So the dapple shading provided by the moringa tree might be perfect sunlight conditions for my, say, tomato, and I also get the benefit of the support and the nitrogen fixation. Make an overall observation and interpretation. What is already at your site? What can be done with it? So before I tear something down, right, decide it's not worth anything, what could I change it? Think about an old barn. Lots of times when farm property is sold, the buildings on site are not valued in the selling price. They consider those as not valuable. So at which time, well, that's an old barn. It may not be a nice barn, but I could redo it to make a guest house. I could make a art studio. What could I do with it? Maybe I grow mushrooms inside of there. Identify your local resources. What's around you? That can be physical resources. It can also be support resources. It could be people to provide you with things. So what community and economic resources are available to help with your design and mission for your site? How are you going to interact with your local community? Are you going to support the schools by volunteerism? Are you going to help with the community garden? Are you going to purchase, say, products that are made in the local village from your thing, things like that? These might include markets, what markets are nearby, what farms are nearby to look for waste products and/or restaurants. I can get things, schools, so I can sell things to a restaurant. I also can take their waste. What schools? I may supply vegetables to the local school. So like, for instance, the permaponic system that we're building currently is well in a scale of 5 times bigger than we need to supply salad to us every day, okay, at Raktamachat. But for me wanting to have a commercialized system to demonstrate to our students what that may look like, and the local school right there has a canteen. So we walk by it every day. Well, providing them with fresh vegetables every day from our surplus is a charitable thing to do. That's going to endear us to the school and the community, which supports the school. So this is a thing that we can look into ways that we can, say, take surplus and integrate and get back more than we may have given, actually. And so in this instance, what about sawmills, breweries? Where's the local dump? People throwing away great stuff. Okay, where's the local upcycled, windows, doors, things like this from a reclaimed materials? So commercial people taking out this, they know it's not bad, they send it to the reclaim. You go there, you give $5, you got a new window, right? Where's that location? Come up with a design concept. What transformations will be taking place? So my farm, we purchased a piece of property, a defunct or degraded commercialized corn farm that was non-organic with erosionary and access issues. We will be transforming over the next 5 years it to an international permaculture education center by doing the following things. Right? That's a way of describing the concept and what is the issue and how I might go about the concept and what I need to do to achieve that concept. So create a schematic design. At this point, we're going to start moving into that concept. I want to have gone through the wording, and now I want to make sketches, bubble diagrams that focus on the function and design elements. So I need to pick the elements I want, and I'm going to look at the relationships and the placement of those elements in a functional design. And I need to know the relationships that exist between each element. Permaculture ethics and principles, as well as any off-site resources and social and environmental and financial obstacles, serve as a sieve for ideas. So if you have a grand design or this idea, is it socially acceptable? Right? Will the local community support what you're doing? Is it financially achievable? You know, I want to do all this, but where's the money come from? Is it environmentally sound to do this? It might have an environmental impact. Too many people, not enough resources, create too much garbage or something like that. And so these are the type of things that we want to see. Or if I need to have, like I described, I want to have a big market garden, I want to supply organic vegetables to the new market. Do I have off-site resources like enough biomass in order to make a composting system to provide them things organically? So if I have access to, say, I'm within 2 kilometers of a large-scale mushroom farm that's making organic compost at a massive rate, and I have access to that, then that will support my garden. If I lose access to that resource, what am I going to do? This is also something we need to think about. So if we tie our business to some other type of resource, we need to make sure that is going to continue. Begin your master plan. So now that I've done my sketching, bubble diagrams, I'm collecting my information, I can decide what elements will definitely be used. Because remember the options? I could do this, but I need to now start narrowing it down to, you know, that would be really nice, but I might not put that at the beginning. If I dictate that I have enough free time, I might add that in the end. But at the beginning, I need to concentrate on these things. These are the core things I need. I need a house, right? I need a garden, right? I need to have water storage. These are my core things. As I have free time, I may or may not add those other elements. Draw up the final design, create an accurate to scale or map of the final design, which will dictate the size, shape, and location of the patches, which is zones, and elements that we laid out in our schematic designs. So our schematic or sketches are used to create the final design at the end. Determine your phases of implementation, 1 to 2 years, 3 to 5, 6 to 10, or 10 to 25-year plans. As we get further out, the plans become less detail-orientated. It's just more of a description of what it would look like. I don't know the details 25 years away, but I can macro describe. It'll be a jungle, but I'm not going to get as much detail further away. So, but within the first to 3 years, I definitely can describe lots of detail. Like, I need to do this. I'm going to have to get a permit. I'm going to have to talk to this person. I need to find out where I'm going to buy materials. I need to do all these little things are easy to write down in the beginning. Less detail as you move forward. And last, you would present your plan to your client. Who is the person you're presenting it to? Remember what question you may be asking them. What do you want them to do? If it's a government and you're looking for a grant, you need to meet their requirements. If it's your parents and you want to dig up their backyard, you need to meet their requirements. Like, what type of food do they like to eat? How much work are they willing to put in, right? How much grass area do you need to leave in relationship to garden, right? They may value a little patch of lawn. These things you have to talk about. So starting points and some key ideas. Start at the most difficult place. For us, that would have been access. I need to solve access. So I had to negotiate to purchase access to Raktamachat. Before, I decided to buy it because if I bought it, I couldn't get to it. But if I could negotiate that, all of a sudden, now I have access. The property becomes more valuable before I bought it. I need to decide how I'm going to fix the erosion. Well, I know I'm going to put in dams and swales. That will fix that erosionary event. So even before I purchased it, I know I can fix that. It became more valuable. I knew that I need electricity. I have to make sure that I'm able to tie into the electric, that I can work to have electricity to build the place. My long-term goal is to be off-grid or solar, or even we're going to produce more electricity through biogas systems than we produce. So we will sell electricity. But if I want to sell my electricity that we produce as a farm, I still need access to being able to produce the electricity. So you could consider that in the future, Raktamachat will provide the electricity for Hoi Takeng village, because that's the line. Okay, they're the closest person to our kilowatts. So play with your infrastructure and layout. Remember, it's not fixed. You can move things around. Just like I showed, I can make the little representations and I move things around. I can do that on a sketch. And then once I solidify it, then I draw that final pretty master plan. If I draw that at the beginning and try to start with this perfect drawing and I make a mistake, I got to keep drawing it over. I'm going to waste time. Sketch first. So some strategies that people would use in permaculture: zones. We break things into zones. It makes it easy. We use nature's patterns. We look for biodiversity or the creation of biodiversity by creating habitat. We utilize energy systems or energy capture systems. So how am I going to capture energy? I need to think about community dynamics, or how I'm going to relate to my local community. Okay, so there's definitely the community of Raktamachat, made up of the families that live at Raktamachat. You are not a community member of Raktamachat, you are a guest. If you stayed, you could become a resident. If you stayed in persistently as a resident, you would become a family member, right? Persistence dictates community. If you just walk into a community and say, I'm here. Yeah, thanks, you're a tourist. So this is a persistence thing. So we have people like Jason staying over a year. Well, man, he's like, I can't call him Uncle Jason, right? This is persistence, okay? How we dictate those things. You have to work on those relationships. Both us persistently living in Hoi Takeng village to be a member of that village and to understand what it means to be a member of that village. When they need to clean the temple, do we go? Yeah? Yes, these are, if I'm not going to relate to the culture, how could I be a member of the culture? So, natural building. How are you going to build your homes? And remember, natural building allows us to not use mortgages, right? So what types of natural building do you like? Do you need to skill up on anything with natural building? What materials do you like? What colors do you like? Things like this. And what kind of goods and services may you provide? What could you do with your property? Remember, when I buy a piece of property, guys, I'm making an investment to do something. If you don't want to do anything, don't buy a piece of property, because you're going to have a big hole. Yeah? You need to do something with it. Okay? If you don't want to do anything, buy a little condo. You don't have to cut the grass. You don't have to paint it. You just live in a little box and you don't have to do anything. If you want to do something and your work to provide back income to you, you may look at scale. I get a larger area so I can do something. So zones. I'm showing you this. Typically people show zones, they color them. All colors are nice. This one has no color. Why? Colors are great, but it's nice to be able to see things without. Zones are broken into frequency of use. The things that I put closer to me, like the things I'm going to use every day, I put closer in zone 1. So zone 0 is my house. Zone 1 is around my house, and that would be the items that I would use on a daily basis, like my culinary herbs I use for cooking. I go outside, I want to put my herbs close to, I'm going to go to get them every day. If I needed to take care of my chickens, or I use my chickens every day, I might want to put them in zone 1, or maybe I'll put them at the edge of zone 1 and 2. Right? Like that. Or I might have a horse in zone 2, but I put his barn right on the edge, so it's easy for me to feed, water, and take care of the horse. But I don't have to go see the horse as much. Horse can kind of take care of himself, right? Kind of walk around, eat grass. I don't really have to deal with him too much. But I'll go see him every so often. But my orchard, I might only need to go to my orchard whenever it's fruiting time. So hey, I can put it in like zone 3. I'll put it far away. I only go there maybe once every couple months whenever there's fruiting. If it's not fruiting time, I don't really need to do anything. I might walk there to walk for beauty, and that's nice, right? That's a path, but I don't need to be there. It's further away. A wood lot, things I might only go in once a year to cut firewood. I can put that even further away, zone 4 or even 5. So zone 5, typically, rarely visited, what we consider natural space. I take a space in my property and I don't do anything. Nature's my teacher. I have this little space and I'm not going to do anything. I'm going to let it grow up wild and see what happens. And every so often I'll just come look in there. I'm not going to disturb it, not going to cut trails, right? I just want to check out what's going on naturally. What would happen in this environment if we did nothing? That's and sometimes we don't have sites that are big enough to really have a good zone 5. So I want to shift a different mental thought about this. That's the traditional way this is taught. But a lot of people don't have the opportunity to live on farms and are not going to, they'll take a PDC, but I don't really have a big farm. At best, I may be able to take my parents' yard, maybe 1 acre, and I can make the front and the backyard grow food, right? So it's more of an urbanized permaculture. Well, or what if I don't even have the opportunity to have an acre outside what we might call the suburbs? I live in the city, like in urban permaculture, right? How do I do that? Well, here's a way of thinking about it. If I'm at my condominium, then my zone 1 may be my balcony, for instance. I can grow on my balcony. Not very big. But my zone 2 would be wherever I would like to walk to, or resources that are available within walking distance. So I can now walk, and I would list out all the places around me that I can walk. That's my zone 2, if I live in my condo. That might be the nearest park. That might be the nearest market that I could do things. So this is my zone 2. Maybe a library. I like to go to the library. I can get free Wi-Fi and air conditioning or something. You know, I used to, when I was in Singapore, I used to like to go sit at McDonald's. Yeah, I had free coffee, free Wi-Fi, and I didn't want to eat their food. It was a beautiful place to sit. Nobody ever kicks you out of McDonald's. So sat there, did my stuff, wasn't tempted to eat their food, and I had free coffee and Wi-Fi. It was all right. So that could be on your list. You don't have to eat the thing. So what are you going to do? Why do I go there? Next is, in an urban center, where can I bike to? How far could I, if I got on my bicycle, what resources would be available to me? Where could I go spend my time? What could I do? After that point, where could I go with public transport, like on a bus? At the next zone, where would I be able to go if maybe that's getting to zone 5? Where's the natural, like a park? Where can I get into nature? Where could I go hiking? How far is it for me to go hiking or something like a national park? And that would be a way of looking at an urban sense. And if I had that scale, now I can compare this property against this property. See, I could live in this condominium, or I can live in this condominium. If I live in this condominium, I have access to these things better that I would use for my lifestyle than access to these things. For instance, if my lifestyle is wanting to connect more with nature, or say go to the community garden, interact with schools or something like that, then this might be a better condominium for me in a city. While I work to save my money with the goal of someday, say maybe buying a farm later in time. So that's one way of looking at it. Another new way of looking at this is to say that zone 0 is our house, but we live in our house. So we have a zone 00, and that's in our head. And that's the holistic nature, that you need to also have elements within your design and your lifestyle that keep you normal. If you're not all there because you're having social problems or mental or depression or any of these things driven by stress and stuff like that, then it's not gonna matter what all these nice physical elements are that are outside, because you're not right here. So we need to also focus on making sure that we're okay so that we can interact with all those nice things. So that's this concept of 00, a little bit of some people in permaculture even talking about permaculture and spirituality issues. On the internet, you can find that if you look. And that's this kind of concept of 00. So ways to look at it. So remember your patterns in nature, designing from mandalas to paths to sinuous nature of streams. Biodiversity is something that we want to be looking for. I want natural integrated systems. Typically, we want to try to mimic what nature does, and my effort increases nature's succession. As far from being monocrops as possible. Okay, permaculture is kind of more in a polyculture standpoint. We don't do too much monoculturing, and we like to create edge in order to create more yield. Energy systems is something that you might want to look at into your designs and investigate. How are you going to capture or provide energy in your design? Sometimes at the beginning, you may not have the funds to put in the solar system that you may desire at the end of your 10-year plan. So at the end of my 10-year plan, Raktamachat surely says solar panels. But right now, we don't really have the finance to put solar for Raktamachat. But it doesn't mean that I don't want it or that I will not work towards getting it. So when it becomes available and I have the ability, then we would put that in. But in the short term, how do I provide for my energy? And how am I going to provide for my energy in the long term? Your plan can show both. So you may do geothermal. You could do micro hydro if you had water running on your property, solar tiles, panels. You could do biogas, which is one of the ways that we're leaning towards. In a broad scale, we have lots of biomass. So as you saw, this huge pile of corn stover can easily be put into a digester to create methane. I get methane to run my electricity, and I have the slurry, which is a liquid fertilizer, without flipping compost. So it's a win-win, right? Or a wind turbine if you have the right wind. Community. Well, community is obviously people, but there's other types of community. Guilds, that's our plant communities. So local networking, sharing of resources, that can be your local permaculture guild, or you create guilds in your garden. Eco-hoods or co-housing. If it's too daunting to think, hey man, I don't know if I really want to make a farm. And what about this thing he keeps talking about, like if I have chickens, I got to take care of them all the time. What if you share the responsibility? What if you live in a co-housing or you live in an eco-hood or community where you can share the responsibility? So 10 houses has one chicken coop. Each day the eggs are split and you share the responsibility of taking the chicken so I can go on a holiday because I still want to be able to travel. So how could I facilitate being able to travel? How would I be secure that my house doesn't get robbed? My community will look after my things for me while I'm gone, and when they're gone, I'll agree to look after their things. So think about eco-villages. They can help that concept. So a subdivision or town that's sustainably designed, that might be a place that you want to look into moving to. We have choices to move. Almost no one is from their locale anymore, especially Westerners. So at which time can I move? And if I chose to move, where would I move to and for what reason? So this is a way of looking at that. Think about natural building. There's lots of different techniques from straw bale, cob houses, rammed earth, tropical wood and palm construction, yurts in colder climates and mobile communities, or adobe houses, right? From the Midwest to the US. Any of these are practical, and if you build them into the right environmental conditions, last for multiple generations, okay? So they can be built by yourself. They reduce your need for mortgages, okay, dealing with banks as much, and they can last generations. And if built correctly, and if you embody enough energy into the home, then they will offset the energy supply for the home. They actually produce energy. So we want to think about our houses as being energy producers, not energy consumers. So goods and services. Barter is a great way. I have this, I will trade it to you for that. Every day, and y'all might have seen the guy comes sometimes on a motorcycle. My mother-in-law makes eggs, and she supplies the eggs to the village. So pretty much every egg that's eaten in the Hoitakang village comes from our farm. And we sell those eggs at about 30% cheaper than the eggs that would be supplied if they have to purchase them from CQ and bring them. So everybody knows that we supply cheap eggs. So we're popular in that sense. But my mother-in-law still makes money on the eggs, even though she undercuts the other, what might not be as eco, because we make the food for our chickens. We grow the food to feed the chickens and ducks on our farm, and that's where the profit comes from. If I had to purchase the grain to feed them, I wouldn't be able to make any profit, right? So it's a win-win situation. She makes money, she's happy. The village gets a discount, they're happy. And think about that. And the secret there is growing the food for the animal system if you want to grow an animal. Local exchange trading system, which is a currency. So what it means, how does it work? Our current currency system says that, well, you must pay me X amount per hour because I deem my services to be worth so much. And then we say this other person who does this type of form of work, they're not worth as much. So I'm the CEO and I get $200,000 a year or something crazy, right? And you're the janitor who cleans the toilet in the office, which is a very valuable thing to do. But we're not going to pay you but $20,000 a year. That's what you're worth. Let's says that, well, why do we do that? What if we just exchanged hours? I have a skill set. Maybe I'm good at websites. So if you need help on your website, I could help you. But I understand that you're really good at topography, so I would like you to draw the topography map, survey, and I will build your website. You work an hour, I work an hour. Is that fair? So we can exchange hours. So the let's is an exchange of 1 hour of service, not tied to hours at different rates. CSAs, really cool, great thing that permaculturalists are getting into, supporting farmers markets. So community-supported agriculture, or what's called farm share. If you decide to get into agriculture, guys, you pick the hardest business in the world. You've decided, so you might not have even done business yet. You never even tried to be a business person, and you just decided to get into the hardest business. Let me explain it to you. My father-in-law has to cash flow his entire business all year. He never gets paid any money until he harvests his crops, and he sells it all on one day. And he gets all of his income on one day, has to pay his expenses, and he has to budget the rest of the money till next year, one day. Can you imagine if you only get paid one day a year? Anybody be able to make that one? Or are you going to run out of money before the next paycheck? People living week to week, month to month, imagine year to year. Really, really difficult, and that's what most farmers go through. CSA said, what if we change that economics? What if we said that we understand that's really hard? That creates a lot of stress on the farmer. What if we sold shares? What if I know that I have a food production system here at Raktamachat, and every week I make so much food, comes out of the garden? What if you bought shares in Raktamachat from me, and I agreed to give you 10% of the food produced, and you prepaid me? So each week you pay me, and I provide you with the food week by week. Not I have to do it year by year. So CSAs then are more able to meet the market by providing diversified foods, not commoditized foods. So that's where really good business. Look it up online. It's really cool. Community farms and gardens. So maybe I can't have my own farm. I don't really may want to. I live in the city. I like what I do. I'm a school teacher or something like that, right? That's fine. You can support your community farm and or gardens. School gardens, they need help to show the kids. Okay, they're always happy. Go make a friend. Or support the community gardens. Join a permaculture club, permaculture garden, permaculture guild. Go do, on the weekends, you can do perma blitzes. Okay, these type of things. Look at free cycling. The West, particularly, has already produced more than we ever need. We have a declining population. So going into the future, we're going to have more and more goods accessible. So almost everything in the West you can get for free now. Laptops, to cell phones, to beds, to cars. People giving cars away. Just come pick it up, you can have it. All right? America is, everything's free. So you have to look it up. You might have to go do the thing. I get it. They have people supporting their families by just taking free stuff and reselling it. This is happening. So we can look into that, and so that helps me to reduce my need to earn, because I didn't have to pay for what I consumed. I got it for free. I don't mind to wear a secondhand shirt. It doesn't bother me at all, right? So if I can have a secondhand shirt that my wife gets from the market for 20 baht, because someone in America threw it away, and it travels halfway around the world to Thailand to end up in the Thai market, and I can get it for 20 baht, I don't mind. Sounds good. I can work less if I can accept free things. Permaculture Credit Union, put your money in ecological investments. It doesn't have to be the Permaculture Credit Union, guys. It's just an example. But there's lots of ecological banks now that have sections where they say we will not use your money to invest in, say, businesses that are not considered sustainable. Support green businesses. Some people like to think you don't have a vote. Oh, I don't have a vote. My government doesn't support me anymore. That's bullshit. You vote every day. Every day you spend money, and every one of you spend money. It's a vote. You have a choice where you spend your money. You have a choice of the places that you support. And if you don't like a place, vote with your feet. Yeah, leave. If you don't like a business, do not give them your money. If you like a business, give them your money. If you really like a business, tell your friends. about that great business, that sustainable business, and convince them to give them their money to them too. This is how we can change the world. We can change the market one business at a time, because we say this business is outstanding. These people do it right. These people are sustainable. They make great food. They make a great product, and I want to support them. Yeah? And that's our choice. We may not be able to go into the booth and it makes no difference who I vote for President of the United States. Who cares? Yeah? Either one of them. It's the same. They're just puppets held by the same people. But I can choose where I spend my money. I can choose where I go. I can choose where I give my free time. I can choose where I give my help. This is what permaculture says. Our personal choices make a difference.